I've always been brought up with a really good work ethic. So taking the action and making the money was something that was, you know, pretty much effortless for me. But what I did realize after, you know, my first business and then running 3 brick and mortar businesses after that, that I'd created this, what most would define as success, but I didn't feel fulfilled. Yes, I had a great car. I had a great house. I owned my own house when I was, I think, 21. And had $250,000 equity in that home. And, you know, most people from an outside perspective would have thought, yeah, she's killing it. But I felt like there was so much missing within. And I could get that temporary hit of dopamine and go out there and buy a Louis Vuitton handbag and think that that was going to be the quick fix of making me feel better. But I've been at the stage where I've had what most people call success, but it didn't truly feel like success because there was so much emptiness within me. Right? So I believe now that success is such a broad spectrum approach. It's down to our relationships, the way that we relate in all aspects of our life. It's our inner realm. It's the relationship that we not only have with other people, but ourselves as well. And then it's the business, the passion projects, the money that we earn, you know, the mental clarity that we have. All of these pieces, I feel, equate to ultimate success. And this is the piece that, you know, I talk about all the time is like, I truly believe that we can absolutely have it all. And a lot of us probably think, oh, well, you know, I've made the money, I've got the business. That means that I've got to lack somewhere else. How many times in your life, and put your hand up if you can relate, have you had that moment where you've created something amazing and then you're like, oh, it's too good to be true. Something's got to fuck up. Right? Yeah. I get it, because sometimes I even go back there and I'm like, whoa, I catch myself. Hang on, Krista, what do you mean? You know that you can absolutely have it all. And I believe that. I truly believe that within every inch of my being. So I'm going to run through these wealth cycles with you guys. And what we're going to do is assess where you're at. Now, Paul, I would love for you to jump on and tell me if the camera is mirrored correctly, please. I'm just going to write Krista here. Can you see that properly?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
You're a little far. It's a little far away, but it's actually the correct ratio aspect this time.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about multiple aspects of life. I'm going to move it a little bit closer for you guys. That's going to be better. Okay, so the first one, I want you guys to draw this on your piece of paper. We're going to draw 3 circles. In the first circle, we're going to write inner realm. In the second circle, we're going to write relationships. And in the third, we're going to write business. Now, I believe that these are the 3 pillars of creating true wealth, wealth in every aspect of our life, true success, the ultimate success that we can achieve. Because if we don't have this sorted, if we don't have the inner realm sorted, our business isn't going to provide us with absolute fulfillment. And I think that so many of us are searching for something external from ourselves to fill that void that is within us. And this is why this is one of the most important key components of whatever we create in our lifetime. I can teach you how to make a 7-figure business. That's easy. But you're not going to actually acknowledge or appreciate any of it if you haven't got this part of it sorted. And this is why I'm constantly investing in, you know, breathwork practitioners and having breakthrough sessions and going to different therapists that utilize different modalities to ensure that I'm always in an optimal position, right? Because I know that this isn't going to be the ultimate key. And if I don't have this sorted, this isn't actually probably going to be successful. So we're going to break it down into different segments, and you guys are going to score yourself in each segment that we break it down into, so that you can see very clearly what you have to prioritize and what is lacking in your life. And I say the same thing about relationships, you know, like how many people have you heard of that are like maybe a multi-millionaire or a multi-billionaire, and yet they've worked so hard their entire life that they've allowed all of those relationships, those love relationships or relationships with their children, to fall away because they just haven't ever prioritized it because they've been too focused on this. All of it's irrelevant if you have no one to share it with. And this is the reason that Kerwin and I will always prioritize holidays maybe once a month or once every 2 months, because we realize both of us work so incredibly hard on our missions that we keep separate, but we know that our relationship and having that person in our life to witness it is going to make it all so more wonderful, right? So what we're going to do is break it down, and what you can even do is create like a bit of a pie out of it, so that you can get a really good visual representation of each circle. So this is the inner. So we're going to break it down. Okay, we've got nutrition in the first part of it. We've got mental clarity. We've got energy. And we've got mental health. Now within mental health, that is all encompassing. So that's the way that you feel that you show up inspired every day, you know, whether you're approaching things with that motivation, you know, your relationship and your self-talk, your beliefs, this is all encompassing within the mental health. Now, what we're going to do in each of these sections, and I'm going to give you guys, after I've mapped it all out with you, I'm going to give you guys a good 15 minutes just to score yourself. But in each of these sections, for each of them, we're going to give ourselves a score from 0 to 10. So 0 is in the middle. And even if you want to do this, I'm a very visual person. So even if you want to put like that's 0 in the middle and this is 10 on the outside. So if you're sitting at around a 5 in nutrition, you can color that in. So we can see what's literally out of balance. You know, maybe in your mental clarity, maybe you've got heaps of kids and you feel like you're a scatterbrain majority of the time, and I can totally relate to that. But you know, you're in this constant state of overwhelm and you find it hard to process your thoughts, and maybe you're at about a 2. So we're going to mark it there. Mental health is something, you know, you've been immersed in the self-development world, you've got high sensory acuity, you know what you're doing, so maybe you're at a 9. And then energy, maybe your energy is pretty good majority of the time, maybe it's a 6. And we're going to see very clearly here when we map it out that mental clarity is something that we need to prioritize. And this is just giving you guys a level of awareness, right? Because I believe that awareness in every aspect of our life is key. Because with awareness comes choice, and with choice comes change. Now, awareness isn't the ultimate fix. We've actually got to take action to change it. But if we don't have the awareness, we don't know what action to take, right? Okay, so I'm going to, if you guys just map this out with me, and then I'm going to give you a good 15 minutes just to score yourself, and we're just going to have a bit of a share as well. So then in relationships, we're going to break it up again. Get rid of this because it's a little bit scattered. So then in relationships, we've got our love relationship. So this is our partner. We've got our relationship with self. Got our relationship with friends. And then our relationship with family. Okay. In business, we've got alignment. How aligned is your business to you? How much does it light you up? And I feel so fortunate from such a young age that my mum said to me, if you don't want to go to uni, you don't have to. As long as you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life, and money will always be a byproduct of it. And it's the greatest piece of advice that I have ever been given, because that's all I've ever done. And I think it's the reason that I've created success in every business that I've been immersed in, because I've enjoyed it and I've been passionate about it at the time. And here's the thing about, passion. I believe that we can be multi-passionate. We can have multiple things in our life that we're passionate about. I'm also passionate about nature. I'm also passionate about meditation. I'm also passionate about dance and singing. I'm also passionate about art. Doesn't mean that all of them are going to be a business, but what I know I'm most passionate about, and the way that I uncovered it, was I kind of looked back through every business that I've had, and I realized the thread that tied it all together was that I was just always helping people. In the initial stages, when I first opened my salon, it was that I could actually help people not only feel aesthetically better about themselves, but everyone knows that hairdressers are a form of counselor. So I knew that by helping them look better and helping them feel better for spending 2 hours and allowing them to dump on me, there was a whole lot of trauma bonding that probably happened in the hairdressing industry, but, that's something we're going to delve into later. But, with that, I knew that they were going to walk out feeling like a totally different person. And then when I had my health cafes, I put so much love into the food. We even had like a little stamp with the branding, and it said made with love, that we'd put on every takeaway container. I knew that by, me connecting with the people in the morning and being that smiling face behind the counter, even when I had a whole lot of shit going on in my life, having that smile and greeting people in the middle of a city where people are so corporate and rigid, if I could give them nutritious food and help them in some way and brighten their day, I felt like I had contributed in some way, shape, or form. And every single day, even when we had leftovers, we'd always have leftovers at the end of the day. We'd take them to a homeless shelter. And we were always being of contribution, helping people. And this is what I realized was, when I was in any of these industries, it was always with the thread of just helping. And, being in coaching, that's the reason that I do it. At the essence of it, it's just to help. And this is the alignment piece that you guys get to look at. How aligned is your business with you? And you know what? It's totally okay if it's not. If you're selling a product that you don't actually believe in, you're not aligned with your business. And if that's the case, I want you to seriously assess over the next couple of days how you can pivot. Because our ability to pivot in every aspect of our life is going to dictate the success that we create, right? Business. So then we've got money. Then we've got time. And then we've got the structure. So by structure, I mean, obviously you guys are going to gain a whole lot of structure and strategy over the next couple of days. But so many of us go, oh, well, I want to be the 7-figure income earner, and we don't actually even have a business model that's going to be the vehicle to get us there, right? And I know at the early stages of my career, this was something that I was fortunate enough to run through with my dad, and it's called the Target Plan. We're going to be going through it today. But it was actually like I was saying to Dad, you know, this is the amount that I want to earn a year. When I first stepped into the coaching industry, and my dad was trained by Scott Harris and has done a lot of Tony Robbins work, and he was like, perfect. Here's some modalities that I've actually gained, you know, through the mentors that I have. Let's run through it and actually see what you need to do in order to get to that number. You know, I think it was 500 grand back then. So we actually figured out like what products and what services and how many I had to sell and what marketing I'd have to do. And I got absolute clarity around what was required to get to that destination. I was no longer saying, all right, well, I want to earn 500 grand and I'm just going to hope and pray that it falls from the sky at some stage. And, you know, I'm willing to put in the hard work, got no clarity on how I'm going to get there. It then became actually attainable because I broke it down into actionable steps. Right? Okay. KPIs are so important, sister. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, all right, it's 9:39. I'm going to give you until 9:50. I want you to scale yourself from 0 to 10 in each of these sections. And let's have a look into the awareness of what needs to be prioritized. 10 minutes.
Krista,
Yes, my love.
quick question. What happens if we don't have a romantic partner at this time?
How open are you to relating in that way?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So more so just like your relationship with it. Are you an avoidance of it, or are you shut down to it, or just assessing it from an outside perspective? Because if we're shut down to it and we're not open to it, receiving that love in that dynamic, we're not going to attract what we deserve.
Okay. Okay. And then also for the time category, is it just that we feel we have enough, or
Yeah,
what would
how effective are you with it is more the question.
effective?
Yeah, how effective are you with your time? Are you sort of, it's normal when we're stretching our capacity that we are going to have less time, right? And I believe that the growth journey is about that. I'm constantly stretching my capacity, and then in that stretching, my time feels so spared. But then it's a matter of having the awareness of like, okay, all right, well, if that's lacking, how can I maybe add someone onto my team? How can I eliminate something that's not serving me? Is all of my action that I'm taking, or the activity that I'm partaking in, is it income producing, or am I prioritizing things that really don't mean anything? Just your relationship with the time and how well you use it.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you have finished?
Excuse me, Krista, what was the third one in the inner realm?
Inner realm, so we've got nutrition, mental clarity, energy, and mental health.
Clarity. Sorry, I was driving. And business?
The business one was alignment, money, time, and structure.
And relationships with partner, friendship, family.
Yeah, partner, friendship, family, and self.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. All right, perfect. So what we're going to start with, guys, we're going to be covering all of these sections over the 3 days, and business particularly tomorrow and on Sunday as well. I'm like trying to figure out what day it is. So today we're really going to be delving into the first 2. Now, this is really important because this year, all of what happens here is going to dictate the vibration that we are showing up in. Right? And our vibration, what we are in this world, our energy, the way that we approach everything in life, we are only going to merely attract back what we are. And this is where the force and the flow comes in, right? And this is where, you can go out there and you can take all the action in business and you can do all of the things. But if you're not actually a vibrational match to what you're wanting to call in, it's going to require a huge level of action. And this is where we reach burnout. And I'm going to talk about force and flow cycles so that you actually know where to take action from, as opposed to just merely going out there and grinding and hustling. Because I've been at both. Like, I have honestly been at both places. And the initial stages of my business, as I said, like I was so very much in my masculine. And I was all about the hustle and the grind, and I had the work ethic, and I thought I was doing the thing. And I actually had this underlying belief, or this unconscious agreement, that that's what it took. That I had to go out there and face adrenal burnout so many times, and I had to constantly burn out. And it was normal for me to feel fatigued because I was this entrepreneur and I was identifying with this all of the time. And when I broke it down, when I thought, right, if I'm going to sustain, especially in the coaching industry, if I'm going to sustain this for the rest of my life, how can I actually be effective in that? How can I be effective in that sustainable process, as opposed to going out there and just being that masculine presence within my business? So don't get me wrong, business takes hard work, and it takes more work than what most are willing to put in. But we get to enjoy the process, and we get to have awareness around the place that we are taking action from, so that it's effective rather than ineffective. So I want to start by, a lot of you probably know that I am a nutritionist. It's not something that I'm going to delve deep into today, but I just think that it's a really integral part. For me, like, nutrition isn't something that I'm overly passionate in talking about. Like, I believe that our relationship with food and our beliefs around food are far more impactful than what we're actually consuming. But at the same time, for performance reasons, and especially because it impacts our energy and our mental clarity, nutrition is something that we absolutely have to assess. You know, if we're out there and we're drinking alcohol every night and we're smoking and we're eating really, you know, shitty food, it's not going to be of benefit in order for us to show up to all of the structure and the strategy. And I've realized this, you know, coming from someone who I used to be a smoker many, many years ago now, but I used to smoke and I never really had awareness. And it was up until I fell pregnant that I kind of went, well, hang on, this isn't just about me anymore. This is about the nutrition that I'm feeding my child. And this enabled me to delve so deep into the nutrition realm because my daughter at a very young age was diagnosed with ADHD. And I knew that I was always pro natural medicine, and I knew that I wasn't going to go out there and medicate her. I wanted to delve into the reason why and how I could fix it from a natural standpoint. So after she's almost 9 now, and I can't believe I'm even saying that, but after, you know, multiple, you know, practitioners that I saw and had all of these tests, it actually came back to, it was a high intolerance to eggs that was creating neurological inflammation. And an intolerance is vastly different to an allergy. So allergy is usually like an anaphylactic response. So whether it's asthma or whether it's hay fever or whether it's a skin rash, it's usually an allergy. Whereas an intolerance is usually a neurological effect. And this is what was happening with Ayana. She was so inflamed internally that what happens is our gut is directly linked to our brain. And the way that it's linked to our brain is through a nerve called the vagus nerve. So if she was consuming something that was creating inflammation within her body, it was traveling, that inflammation was traveling up that vagus nerve into her brain and was creating this outrageous behavior. And this was the greatest gift. While I had a child that was, you know, trying to smash windows and spitting on me and pulling my hair, it was quite exhausting, but it enabled me to delve so deep into nutrition. And I decided to start studying naturopathy as a result of it. I ended up deferring naturopathy and just went back and did nutrition. And, you know, back then I was just so passionate about finding answers. Nutrition isn't my genius as much anymore, but it's something that I like to add into everything that I do because I feel like it plays a huge role in everything, you know, regarding performance. So even over, I'm just going to do like a brief outline that I want you guys to have a look at. And, you know, I've delved so deep into blood type diets and all sorts of things to figure out what food was right for my blood type. And I suggest that you go and research that as well. If you want to perform with absolute mental clarity and energy, you're going to have to make sure you understand your body and your body's needs in order for you to have that all of the time. There is no way that I would be able to do what I do and maintain performance if I wasn't prioritizing nutrition. So I understand for me, like I'm an O blood type, an O negative blood type, and I understand that I do actually require meat. So while there is a lot of people out there that are vegan, and you know, I have tried it before, it doesn't actually enhance my performance. Whereas an A blood type is absolutely amazing on a more vegetarian or vegan diet. So I know for me, as much as I'm not a huge meat eater, I absolutely do need it. So, you know, even over the next couple of days, I've organized catering for myself and my team that are here that is performance food. And this is why I made the suggestion that you guys absolutely are eating performance enhancing food as opposed to carb loading and then feeling exhausted and running heavy by the third day. This is going to be of huge benefit. You know, I'm not drinking coffee throughout the day. I'll, you know, occasionally have a coffee every couple of days, but I'm always drinking like a mushroom cacao tea, or I'm having loads of water and I'm staying hydrated all of the time. And this is absolutely really, really important. So what I'm going to talk about in the way of nutrition is just a broad spectrum approach, but I think that it's really important for you guys to even, what I might do, I've got a 14-day cleanse that I might just post in the group as an added bonus. And what this does, it reduces inflammation within the body so that then we can add bits and pieces into our diet and see what we react to. The analogy that I like to use in nutrition is like driving around in a dirty car. If you're driving around in a half-assed car that you never clean and, you know, it's a bit of an old shitter and, you know, you never really prioritize vacuuming it or cleaning the outside, you're not going to notice if a fly or a bug flies on your windscreen. It's just going to be like, meh, all right, get rid of it, keep going. As opposed to, and I guess you guys can probably, I know every time that I wash my car, it decides to rain or a big bug flies on my windscreen, and I'm a little OCD in that matter. But when you have a freshly cleaned vehicle and then, you know, you get a splatter of bird poo on your windscreen, it's like, oh my gosh, like I really notice it. It's no different to your diet. It's no different to how you are feeding and fueling yourself. If you've never actually had a realization or an understanding of what it feels like to be optimal, you can eat anything and you're not going to notice the difference, right? As opposed to being really clean and clear, having optimal nutrition, feeling energized, mental clarity, you know what it feels like. Anything that you add in, you're going to feel like shit. It's just that not many of us have this understanding. We don't actually know what it feels like to feel optimal. So we've got nothing to sort of work from. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Totally. So my 14-day plans, I'll post it in the group just so that you guys actually have something after this that you can take part in. The idea of it is to eliminate anything that could potentially be creating inflammation within your gut. Because this is the foundations. Like, we can sort out the reasons why you're feeling that you're lacking energy or you're lacking mental clarity, and that's why we're going to dig into the internal realm today. But all of it becomes irrelevant if you're not fueling yourself effectively. So the idea of the cleanse is to eliminate anything in the way of red meat, eggs, dairy, soy products, all forms of meat. In fact, you know, all of these things that could potentially be creating inflammation. Now, it's not going to. These things aren't going to. As I said, like, I need meat in my diet. It doesn't create inflammation for me. But for someone that has a different biochemistry, it absolutely could be. And this is where we get to have the awareness, because I don't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all approach. And this was like my point of difference when I was in the nutritional space, was I would never do meal plans, because I don't believe that one meal plan can fit every single person. And this is why we have to constantly change it up and see what's the right fit for us. So the cleanse is going to eliminate everything that's inflammatory, and you're going to be eating really raw, fresh foods. But then what we do is we actually do a reintroduction process. So we take eggs, for instance, and my daughter is a prime example of someone that can't eat eggs because it creates high levels of inflammation. And my father is exactly the same. So we reintroduce eggs. And we actually become aware of how our body responds to it. So do we feel bloating? Do we feel like it's impacted our mental clarity? Are there any body aches and pains? And this is a telltale sign of what we should and what we shouldn't eat. I know for me, I rarely get bloated, but I know when a food doesn't agree with me, because I get like a tension in my head. And wine is one thing that does that for me, because it's so high in a chemical that we call salicylates that it just reacts with my body. Whereas someone else could drink a bottle of wine a night and feel absolutely amazing. So we're going to reintroduce one thing at a time. So we go into reintroduce eggs. Okay, what's the reaction? All right, none. Let's take it back out. And then let's introduce some red meat if you are a meat eater. And then we take it back out. The chemical salicylates. Salicylates is it's naturally occurring in a lot of fruit and vegetables. So things that are high in salicylates, any berries, things that are usually high in antioxidants, are usually also high in salicylates. And the way that I sort of discovered this was because I did this whole elimination diet with my daughter for so many years, until I established that it was an egg that was the catalyst for all of it. But the salicylates was something that is directly linked to neurological health. So it's not bad for you. It's not bad for a lot of us, but if you have a reaction or an intolerance to it, it's going to cause problems. And I would highly suggest that you guys do this and take part in it. So just to make a suggestion of what you should be doing and what you should be consuming every day, I think the best approach for all of us, until you do that cleanse and you develop the level of awareness around what your body does and doesn't want, is that you should just eat a whole food diet, right? Like just simple whole foods. If you have access to organic produce, absolutely, by all means, get your hands on that. I'll always eat organic. So by whole foods, I mean meat, veg, fruit, nuts. If you're having any fats, make sure that they're organic. Organic butter is absolutely amazing. Make sure that you're consuming things that you can actually clearly see what is in them. You know, even if you are getting pasta sauces or anything like that, don't get the ones that have a million and two numbers on the ingredients list. Get the ones that are really clean and clear and have all of those amazing ingredients. So whole food is the best way to go. Now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about gut health and why it's so important. I have a really strong gut protocol that I use. And the reason that I am always prioritizing my gut health, number one, through the nutrition and what I consume. But number two is because, as I said earlier, our gut and our brain is connected. So I know if I'm not prioritizing this isn't going to be effective. And this is what I need in order for me to not only run a business, but for me to be optimal for the people that I'm working with. So leading up to, and I'll get one of the team to post in the group a photo of the product that I use, leading up to events, I will always do a strict gut protocol with a product called Quenda, and it's Ultimate Fiber. It is by far the best product that I have ever found because it increases sensitivity. So I'm able to sit here, and because I'm so highly sensitive, I can read all of you all at once. I can read your facial expression, the way that you're maintaining the knowledge, your reactions, what you're feeling, because I'm constantly increasing my sensitivity. And this is absolutely important, especially in the way of if we are wanting to get on stages. I know for me, I'll always do gut protocol leading up to events so that I can be reading the room really effectively so that I know where to maneuver and where to sort of stand back and hold space. So it's Quenda, I think it's Quenda. Ultimate Fiber. Now, I will pre-warn you, it tastes like shit. I think, Em, have you tried it? You tried it, didn't you? Yeah.
Drink it with a straw. Shake it up and then just drink it straight down with a straw. Don't let it settle.
Yeah, because it turns into sludge. Yeah. So it's really icky, but it's so worth it. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Veronica. And then what I would be suggesting is a potent probiotic. Don't go and get a probiotic from your chemist. Go and get a probiotic from a health food store. So like a Flannery's or, I know in Byron we've got like Fundies or, any of those places that are going to sell like a good quality product, a probiotic. Another piece is drinking good quality water. The Enagic machines are absolutely, and I'm not saying this because I'm involved in Enagic, I do work with a lot of clients in Enagic, but the Enagic machines are an amazing source of alkaline water. Don't ever drink tap water because the level of chlorine and fluoride in the tap is not going to be of benefit and actually creates calcium on the brain. So always drinking alkaline, high quality water. Do you guys have any questions so far? Laura and Amy, do you have a question? Unmute yourself.
I want to know if rainwater counts, because she drinks rainwater. I live on tank water, so is that okay?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, rainwater's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. That's all.
So with this knowledge, I just want you to reassess in your circle, where is your nutrition? Were you realistic, or do you feel like you need to bring it down a notch or up a notch? Where are you sort of sitting? I recently did an amazing microbiome test, super useful. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome, Em. Thank you for sharing that. Guys, Em just posted that she recently did like a microbiome test, which is super useful. So you can go and do that as well. It's about $420. Totally worth it if it's going to enhance performance. Amazing. Now, what I want you to assess is by changing this, how is this going to also affect these two aspects, or actually three aspects of your first wealth pillar? And there are so many other supplements that I utilize, but supplementation is varying dependent on the person. So, you know, I usually take like a B vitamin supplement, great for nervous system. I'll always take like a magnesium supplement. I'm always sort of taking digestive enzymes after most meals that I eat. Also taking like a chlorophyll. There's so many things that you can take, but I would highly suggest that you actually go out there and even see a naturopath to see what's lacking and make sure that everything is in some form of balance. So I can sit here and talk about gut health, but you know, because you need to get advice from someone in sort of like the naturopathy world, it's going to be varying. Any more questions? Perfect. Awesome, guys. All right, so what we're going to do is delve into the energy component, because I think that energy is something that a lot of us can potentially struggle with, right? Do you guys need a couple more minutes to finish up? Give me a thumbs up if you need a couple more minutes with that. No? All good. Okay, so energy is something that I think a lot of us need to prioritize, and you know, the stagnation is what produces lack of energy in our life. And I think that one of the quickest ways to maintain energy is when we are actually making progress towards something. You know, how many of you can relate when you've actually, you know, created this amazing vision, or you've been in this creative process and you've birthed something phenomenal, and it's like you have this untapped amount of energy because you're just making progress towards it. Can you relate to that? Totally. And this is something that we can actually control in every aspect of our life. And I do it on a really regular basis. And we're going to be doing it throughout the entirety of this, of the immersion. And I ask for you to make reference back to this process so that you can maintain optimal performance. Because what happens when we are sitting stagnant, and I'm going to get you guys up to shake it off a little bit. When we are sitting stagnant, we actually start to tune out. We're not actually absorbing all of the information. And I truly believe that the best way that we can learn is by standing up and moving. And it's part of the reason, and I even think in schools they should be implementing this, because the kids are sitting there and then after a while their energy has dropped so much that they're just not maintaining any of the information that they're being taught. So what I like to do, I'm going to take you through this process, is talk about the two things that are going to dictate your energy. And obviously nutrition is going to be a huge impact on this. And, you know, when we've got external stress, it's going to be a huge impact on this as well. But what we can do is choose how we are showing up and get ourselves back in that ultimate state. So we're not only absorbing all of the knowledge and wisdom, but then also we're able to show up as the very best version of ourselves. So I'm going to draw this here, and this is supposed to be a person, by the way. This is my version of the person. Okay, so there's, and a lot of you have probably seen this. Tony also uses this as well, but I think it's something that's really changed my life. The state that we're showing up in. So if we're, and you can even imagine, you know, if you're getting on a coaching call or you're getting on a sales call and you're sort of really, you don't really have any energy and you're feeling pretty blur, the other person on the other end of the call is going to absolutely feel it. And it's no different to me standing here today. If I was on here and I was lacking energy and mental clarity and I was feeling scattered, you guys wouldn't actually be paying attention and engaging in the way that you are. So state is absolutely important. And there's two things that dictate our state. The first is focus. What we're focusing on. And I want you guys to draw this. We're going to have handouts that go into the group for you guys to keep, but I want you to make sure that you're retaining all of this knowledge by actually putting pen to paper. So it starts with state. The first thing is focus. Now, this is something that we must have awareness on throughout multiple aspects of our life, right? Because I don't believe that there's like this final solution ever. It's not like we grow to a certain stage and we've figured it all out. Life is about growth and evolution, and we're put here to do so. So we're going to have the ebbs and flows of life. We're going to have the ups and the downs, and sometimes our focus is going to slip. You know, we might be choosing to focus on all of the shit in our lives, right? We're going to be focusing on all of the lack, and it's totally normal. But what's really important is that we have the awareness to pull ourselves out of it when necessary. So in every moment, you know, when you feel your energy or your state drop, when you're feeling a bit, oh shit, I feel crappy today, I want you to firstly assess where your focus is. And you'll probably realize that it's maybe on something that you're worried about, or something that you're fearful of, or your ego mind might be coming into play and saying, no, you can't really do that. Assessing where your focus is. And then the second piece is physiology. So what's your body doing? And I'm going to give you a bit of an example, but what I want you to do is just get up out of your seat. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to stand up and shake it off. Just do a bit of jumping around. If you want to turn off your video, you can absolutely do that. And just move your arms around, maybe do some squats. Get up out of your seat and just move it around a little bit. All right, what I want you all to do is, I might actually just give it a cup. Oh, nope, we're back. I want you all to stay standing up. I'm going to ask you all to stand up, and it doesn't matter if I can't see you. I just want you to all stand up, and I just want you to listen to my voice. I want you to close down your eyes. And I want you to focus on a vision or a goal that you know you are going to achieve. It might be speaking on a stage in front of thousands of people. It might be knowing that you've created global impact. It might be that you've got a certain amount of money in your bank account. It might be related to your family. And I really want you to feel into that and put yourself in that place as if it's already done. Really have tunnel vision focus on this exact scenario that is already yours. I want you to take notice of everything that's happening around you in this vision, the people that are there, what it sounds like, what it feels like, what it looks like. And get that vision in your mind as close to reality as you possibly can. Every single minute detail. I want you to breathe into that space, knowing that you've done it, feeling the level of pride that's associated, taking notice of what's happening within your physiology. Firstly, I want you to assess what your shoulders are doing. Are they back or are they slumped? Tapping into this highest version. What is your physiology doing? I want you to take notice of where your feet are placed. Are they shoulder width apart or are they crossed? Taking notice of your neck and your head. Is it up or is it looking at the ground? And I want you to now put your focus on what your belief is in this moment. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe is possible? If you can achieve this, what else can you achieve in this lifetime? Where is your belief? How would you talk in this moment? Would you talk with absolute certainty or quiver with uncertainty? How would you be walking? Would you be walking slowly and calmly, or would you be walking erratic? Would you be rushing and overwhelmed, or would you be calm with slow, easy breath? And in this moment, what are you saying to yourself? What is your self-talk? Are you beating yourself up, or are you knowing and telling yourself that you have done an amazing job to get to this moment, to get to this very moment? This is already done and this is already you. I want you now to take a big, deep breath in and exhale. I want you to sit down slowly and journal anything that came up. I'll give you 5 minutes. All right, who would like to share?
I'll go if you want.
I would love that.
So my thing is 200,000 in the bank account isn't wealth. Working like a dog day and night across 9 businesses is not wealth. Connecting with your partner and celebrating the wealth you do create is 100% what life is. And connecting with friends is so important to be able to share and serve. So my biggest thing is, if your focus is your work, then what's your focus? If you like it, embrace it. If you hate it, you're the only one that can change it.
I love that. I love it. And it's really interesting when and the reason that I'm doing this exercise is to specifically display to you guys how our focus and our physiology impacts the level of energy that we have and the state that we're constantly showing up in. And when we're showing up, like when we go to that place, that's our highest version. That's the version of us that knows that there is nothing that is holding us back except ourselves. And this is something that I implement every morning. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I'm always stepping into that highest version. I'm always going to that place. And I've reached that place multiple times and I'm going to the next place. You know, I'm visualizing the next stage of my development and then I'm stepping into that version. And when we're operating from this highest version, it's amazing what actually comes through. And Luke, that's a prime example of it, because you're stepping into, instead of going into the version of us that we are now, when we're sort of, you know, in the rat race in the business, thinking that's going to be the solution to all of our problems. And then that's going to equate, you know, to our ultimate happiness. When we step into that highest version, we can see it from a very different perspective, because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day shit, right? But when we truly take a moment, that bird's eye perspective, okay, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm creating, what do I see from here? Makes
Can I
sense?
share with you, Krista?
Yes.
So that, when you said that comment, like think of something you love or think of something you've like achieved, obviously I was in the top 10 for my networking business in Australia last month.
Yes.
I then got the pay slip saying what we earned, which was obviously a 4-figure income. And then it was like, that's amazing. But then my partner didn't appreciate it, wasn't happy about it, because my focus was always our together time, like our relationship, love time, was always being on the phone. So as soon as Krista said that, my shoulders went forward, my head went down, my legs like couldn't hold me. And it's just like, but why did I do it? What do I gain from it? What do I actually have hand on heart to say, like, that's positive? Because money isn't everything.
That's exactly right. And you know what, guys? I've always said that money is only an amplifier. And I would suggest that you write that down. It's only an amplifier of what we currently are. It's not a solution. Money simply amplifies the person that we are now. And if we're someone that is ungrateful, if we're someone that shows up and feels miserable all of the time, if we're someone that's constantly sitting in fear and anger and sadness and apathy and guilt and shame, money amplifies it. And ego, if we're someone that does the internal work, if we're someone that finds that place of gratitude, and it's not always going to be the case, because this human life is going to be the ebbs and flows and all emotions. And the simple letting go of that expectation that it's all going to be unicorns and roses is something that's going to set you free. But if we're someone that's already kind and we're doing things for the right reasons, we're passionate, we're grateful, we're loving, money also amplifies that. Right? So it's not the solution. You're going to know how to make a shit ton of it after this weekend. But now money is only a byproduct of everything that I do and how I show up. And it just enables me to have more of it. Right? Would anyone else like to share what came through for them? Yeah, go, Seda. Go, beautiful.
Hi. I'd love to share I'm on a mission to raise $2 million for an amazing charity called Braveheart.
Oh my gosh, I used to do singing for Brave Hearts. I did heaps of charities.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
You know, I love what they do and I love what they stand for. So it's just a new project of mine, and that's a big reason why I'm here as well, to get some clarity around how to structure this.
Yeah.
But I got really emotional through that exercise because I could just imagine having that $2 million. Get emotional thinking about that.
Good.
Just the how I had to grow into that vision, because at the moment I'm sitting there going, I don't know how I'm going to achieve that, but I know I will. I
Yeah.
just need to grow into it. So just like tears of pride, joy, feeling of finishing something bigger than myself, and the contribution and the positive change that $2 million can provide for children and families. And then the team that I've built around me to achieve that, like I could imagine them all being there and inspiring, my family, my child, in the process.
Oh, you're
So
beautiful.
yeah, it was awesome.
Oh,
Loved
I
it.
love that. I love that. And you know what, sister, this is something that we're going to talk about as well, but backing our mission with emotion, right? Because that emotion is what's going to draw it towards you so much quicker. And this is why I talk so much about being passionate about what you do. I find myself in tears of gratitude daily when I get through messages from my clients that have just like, you know what I mean? Like when Luke messages me, I well up with tears. She's like, I did it. I'm changing another life. And I'm like,
Love it.
oh my God, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got so much emotion behind this. Even and talking about it and feeling it is just I know I'll do it for sure. Yeah.
Totally. And that's why it's already done, sister.
Yep.
That's why it's already done.
Yep.
What's important in this exercise, this is a prime example of changing your state with your focus and your physiology. Now, I know for me, and it can, when we're constantly looking for that motivation, I did a post on this the other day, and I even spoke about it on my Instagram story. When we're constantly looking for the motivation, like there's a flip side, right? We're not always going to feel motivated and inspired. There's going to be days that we feel shit. And I still have blur days. Like I'm not always showing up in peak state, but I know when I need to, I know how to switch it on, right? And I think that this acceptance and this willingness to surrender to what's coming through us is absolutely going to enable us to move through things far quicker than simply just trying to, use this to always be in this space of like optimal state. And, Tony Robbins talks about it all the time. And it's the reason why at so many personal development events and, even in person with me, we're always using pump you up music, and we're getting you to, raise your hands above your head and jump around and be crazy, because this is a really effective way of learning, number one, but it's impacting your state, right? And when we actually jump up and we dance and we raise our hands above our head, it sends neurotransmitters to our brain and signals for us to change our state. So I know for me, before I'm jumping on a Facebook Live or an event or whatever it is, I'm always plugged into some epic tunes, and I'm always jumping around and getting myself in that peak version. Because in that moment, then I'm focusing on service and I'm shifting up my physiology through dance or whatever's going to shift me out of what I'm feeling. But I think that this is a prime example. What you guys took part in, what I do every single day, you're focusing on where you want to be or where you know you will be. And automatically your physiology shifts. So even if you take a moment and you think about, and they both work for another. So you'll find that, if you focus on, and I'll even take you through an exercise, but even just while you're sitting there, just close down your eyes and focus on something that you're really not proud of. And I just want you to see very clearly how this impacts your physiology. So just close down your eyes, focus on something that you're really not proud of, something that maybe makes you feel a bit angry or sad, something that kind of, you feel a bit guilty about. Maybe it was a breakup that happened in the past, or maybe it was an argument that you had with someone that you love, something that you're holding on to. And I just want you to take notice of what's happening to your physiology while you're focusing on this thought, on this moment in time, while you're focusing on all of the shitty emotions that are attached to it, everything that you're holding on to. I just want you to pay attention to your shoulders, and a lot of you are bowing your head. Your breath is probably a little bit short. It's a little bit shallow. Maybe your heart started beating a little faster than usual. Maybe you've even got a sick feeling in the pit of your gut. Okay, open your eyes. Now you see how just your focus alone is going to shift you into really disempowered physiology, right? And vice versa. If you can change your physiology, you're automatically going to change into a more empowered focus. And this is why the two have to go together. You can imagine someone that's more of an anxious person, or maybe it's you. Maybe you've walked into a big room of people and you're feeling pretty nervous. You don't really want to associate with anyone. You don't feel like having a conversation. And that anxious person, whether it's you or whether it's someone else, you'll notice that their physiology is kind of slumped over. They're finding it hard to make eye contact. The head may be a little bit bowed. They've probably got this sort of body language. They're probably in protection mode. This is the most exposing part of our body. And if you make reference to animals, a lot of animals are all fours. So this part of their body, the most exposing part of their body, is facing the ground in protection. As human beings, when we're feeling nervous or anxious, we automatically do this. And we cross our legs because this is like our safe zone, right? So to truly let go and to feel confident, this is what we have to be. And this is the power of focus and physiology alone. This is how it's going to impact your state. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Awesome. So I want you just to take a moment and reflect in your life, where is it? Like in those moments where you may be feeling anxious, or you may be feeling a bit nervous, or you may be feeling apprehensive, what can you shift that is going to impact you to show up as that highest version, that biggest version of you? What can you tell yourself in your focus? What can you focus on instead? And we've all got that moment. You know, I know even in the initial stages of my relationship, I'd feel really nervous and awkward, almost intimidated. But I would find myself shifting my focus and going, oh, okay, all right, if I'm going to be focusing on all the nervous stuff, what can I be doing with my body to pull myself out of it and change my state? So just write down a few things that you can do in those moments, because I'm assuming that there are these moments that you go into automatic avoidance. What's going to benefit you to shift out of that disempowered state? I'll give you a minute. All right, would anyone like to share?
I will.
Okay.
So I wrote down ask empowering questions for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being disempowered, like why me, we'll go, well, what's great about this?
Mm-hmm.
What can I kind of thing? Visualize myself and my higher self.
Mm-hmm.
So see what she would do. Exercise or move around, meditate, let go and surrender.
Yep.
To those emotions, let them be there, but just let go of them.
Yep.
Listen to hype music to change it, and journal to get it out of my head and onto paper.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And, you know, that's the thing. When we keep it inside of our head, it becomes bigger. How many of you can relate to all of these things that you're worried about? I know I do it sometimes. And I feel like there's a million things going on in my head. And then I'll have a conversation, either with my partner or, my mum or dad. And then I'm like, mum will be, what's going on? Well, there's this. And that's really it. Oh, okay. It's not as bad as I thought. But when we keep it inside here, it just becomes like it exacerbates, right? And we're constantly adding to that. So yeah, really powerful. So, and I would suggest that instead of asking why questions, switch it into how. This is the biggest shift that I had in my language in an empowering way. Or I have to into I get to. Because I think so many of us, and the moment that our life changes is when we take radical responsibility of where we're at, when we choose to create a life in cause rather than effect. If we're going through our life and we're constantly in effect of everything that's external from us, well, the reason that I am where I am is because she did this or he did that, and they hurt me, and, they took my money, or my children are crazy, and, that's the reason why I feel shit. And when we're living from that place, we have no power to change anything in our life. We're constantly at the effect of all of it. And, light bulb moment, it's never going to be perfect. But what we can do is take radical responsibility of how we show up. And we're going to go into, the power of responding rather than reacting, and how to regulate throughout this, these times where we are feeling heightened in our emotion, especially in the way that we relate. But it has to start with radical responsibility and being at the cause of everything in our life. The biggest thing that I learned is my daughter is the way that she is because of the dynamic that she's grown up in, because of the way that I have parented her. And when I saw that, when I took ownership of that, when I thought, oh my gosh, she's so badly behaved, why? I don't understand. I felt like I couldn't do anything about it. As opposed to, okay, I've created this because I know that I'm the creator of everything in my life. I'm willing to take radical responsibility of it and be at the cause of it. How do I change it? Why is this happening to me? Into how is this happening for me? There is no way, even when my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD, there is no way that I ever would have been able to find a solution if I was sitting in why is this happening to me? When I asked the question, how is this happening for me? I was able to go out there and research things that not many people are willing to learn and step into the coaching space. It was the greatest gift. It was just a matter of me switching my perception. And another piece is I have to, so many of us find ourselves in I have to throughout the entirety of the day. I have to pack the school lunches, then I have to do this, then I have to do that. And holy shit, my life's a shit show. I get to do all of it because I woke up today. I woke up and I'm living and I'm breathing and I'm walking and I'm connecting and I'm loving. And I get to, because I get to be a mama, and some people don't even get that opportunity. I get to be a business owner, and some people don't have the willingness to do what I've done. Right? So it's really just everything in our life is simply a matter of perspective. We can either look at all of the bad or we can look at the gifts. And I guarantee everything in your life is only a gift. It's just a matter of you choosing to be at the cause of it rather than the effect of it. Right? So all of this is irrelevant, and being in an optimal state is irrelevant if you've got behaviors that are really impacting the action that you take. And we're going to go into some diminishing behaviors so that you can actually have the awareness over this, and you can call yourself out in the moments where you see this behavior as evident. Now, this is going to be a light bulb moment for a lot of you, because when I first established this, I was able then to move past all of the things that were holding me back. Because I actually had the awareness in the moment, and then I had the choice to change it. I'm going to write down a list of the diminishing behaviors, and then we're going to delve into each one. Now, I want you to become aware of where it shows up for you. And I guarantee it's going to be showing up everywhere. Okay, so first, diminishing behavior. You guys are also going to have these handouts in the group as well for you to keep and reuse. And everything that I talk about over these next 3 days, I not only want you to retain it for yourself to implement into your life, but see how I'm delivering it and utilize these tools. Like, I'm not the person that says, you know, nope, it's my IP, you can't take it. I ask you to use it with your clients, right? Like, these are things that you can reuse. And the greatest lessons and learnings that I have had is watching and witnessing people on a stage teaching different things that have resonated with me so deeply that I've taken and I've used in my own unique way. And that's what Luca's here to do today, you know, and over the next 3 days, is she's not only learning for her own breakthrough, but she's learning for what she can use and how she can deliver more optimally, right? So first on the list is perfectionism. Second on the list is self-doubt. Third on the list is know-it-all. Fourth is procrastination. Fifth is I've got this. Next is looking good. And then last is not asking for help. These are going to be the things that are holding you back. These are going to be the behaviors that when you are at the precipice of the metaphorical cliff and you're ready to take the leap of faith, you're going to have 1 to 3 things that pop up and stop you from doing the thing. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of context and create a frame about what came up for me so that you have a better understanding. And I'm going to run through each of them individually. But for me, I was perfectionism, self-doubt, and procrastination. They were my top 3. Now, what I realized, I wanted to break it down into what was most prominent. Like, what was the number one thing that it all started with? And I realized that it was perfectionism. Everything had to be perfect. I had to look perfect. I had to sound perfect. I had to have the perfect amount of knowledge. All of my content had to be created in perfection. And it was appearing everywhere in my life, in my relationships, in my, relationship with my daughter and being a mum. And I'd constantly be beating myself up if I wasn't approaching everything in my life with absolute perfection. And it was exhausting. And then what I realized was if I didn't stop it there, if I didn't have the awareness there, I'd automatically go into procrastination. There's one more actually. Overanalyze. So if I didn't stop it there, I'd automatically go into procrastination. So then I just want to avoid it. Then I just want to tippy toe around it. And then because I did nothing about it, I'd go into this overwhelming level of self-doubt. Because it wasn't perfect, I'd avoid it. And then I'd sit there going, see, knew I couldn't do it. But what I established throughout this process is that if I had the awareness in the moment that I was acting in my perfectionism, and I believe that everything, and you're going to learn this throughout today especially, everything is on a spectrum. Everything in our life is either, we've got, things on the spectrum that are either going to be healthy or unhealthy, and everything in between. And it's not a matter of eliminating these things. It's a matter of allowing it to work in our favor. It's like a relationship. You've either got an unhealthy level of attachment, or you've got an extremely healthy level of attachment, and everything in between. And it's no different to any of these. So what I realized was, okay, if perfectionism is something that is innate within me, what's the reason that is evident, number one? And then how can I actually use it in my favor? How can I reframe my perfectionism to actually work in my benefit and not be the one thing that's holding me back? And what I realized throughout this process was perfectionism could also be framed in a way that it actually enabled me to produce really amazing work. And it actually enabled me to always be in a learner's or beginner's mindset, because I wanted to get things right. I didn't want to half-ass it. But in those moments where I felt like I was overcompensating or trying to make something perfect, and when I really just needed to make progress, that wasn't working to my benefit, but instead working against me. So what I'm going to do is, and what I realized also was, if I cut it off here, I wouldn't go into procrastination nor self-doubt, because I dealt with the root cause of the problem. So what I'm going to do is run through a description of all of them, and I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to assess what your top 3 are. From number one, my number one was perfectionism. What's the biggest catalyst for you to go into this state of I can't do it? So perfectionism is exactly what I stated. Self-doubt is exactly that. Just doubting yourself, doubting your ability, doubting your knowledge, doubting that you can do the thing. Know-it-all. We all know a know-it-all in our life, but it is a diminishing behavior, because the moment that we think we know it all is the moment that we stop learning, right? And I know I've got a know-it-all in my family, and I just don't buy into it, because I understand that it's their journey. But someone that thinks they know it all about every aspect of life, and it actually inhibits their growth. Procrastination is exactly that. So just putting off or avoiding the thing you need to do. And a lot of us do this, we create that big to-do list, the 80-20 rule. We create the big to-do list, and then we do 80% of it, but it's the 20% that actually move the needle forward, and they're usually the things that we avoid. Right? So we've got this big to-do list of everything that's comfortable, and then we've got sales calls on the bottom of it. And we do everything else, but we leave the sales calls because no one likes sales. So we just opt for everything else, and then we wonder why the needle isn't getting moved, because that's the one thing that's income producing. Next one is, I've got this. This is the person that dives head first into stuff without actually thinking it through. So it's almost like the opposite end of the spectrum to perfectionism. It's the person that just takes the action and is half-assed, and they think that they've got it all figured out, but they really don't, and then they're producing stuff that isn't actually prepared. And then we've got looking good. This is the person that always, very similar to perfectionism, but always is constantly worried about the judgment and the comparison, and they're feeling like they always need to look good in every aspect of their life. And guess what, guys? The more human you are, the more relatable you become. You're not always going to look good. Not asking for help, exactly that. So not asking for help from your family members, from your peers. This is a diminishing behavior, because, the bigger that we get, and I've had to learn this because I actually had this show up in my life. I wouldn't ask anyone for help because I didn't want to feel like they had done me a favor, just in case it would get thrown in my face. So I stopped asking for help and thought that I was superhuman, and then soon enough I got adrenal fatigue. And then I didn't have an option, because the universe gave me a good old soul slapping and said, you have to ask for help. You're not going to do it all on your own. You're not superhuman. You're like everyone else. And then the last one is overanalyze. So overanalyzing all of the details. And usually what happens in this moment is when we overanalyze everything, it leads into overwhelm. It leads us into a state of overwhelm because we're so in our head. And as I said earlier, when we're in our head that much, things just seem to get bigger. And then before we know it, we're feeling like we're completely fatigued and we're in this state of overwhelm and we don't want to do anything. So then we're falling into a procrastination. Give me a thumbs up if all of those make sense to you. And before you delve into yours, do you have any questions? No? Perfect. I'm going to give you until 11 o'clock to uncover yours and tell me how they show up in your life. Top 3, starting with the biggest. 5. Okay, who would like to share?
I'll go.
Oh, perfect. Go, Natasha.
So I'm like you. I'm a perfectionist. Well, I try to be. So I want all aspects in my life to be perfect. I guess I expect my relationship with my husband to be perfect, and my relationship with the kids to be perfect. And I procrastinate a lot because I want everything to be perfect in my business as well. I spend lots of time not doing the do because I'm worried about not being perfect. So yeah, I'm one of those ones that do the big to-do lists and yeah, avoid the things that I know I can't perfect.
Yeah.
And I guess that causes self-doubt as well. So I spend a lot of time in self-doubt because I want it to be perfect. So
yeah,
nothing's perfect, but I'm trying to work on that. But yeah.
Progress. It starts with awareness though, sister. We're
Yeah.
going to come up with some ideas of how you can pull yourself out of it in these moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who else wants to share?
I'll go. Okay, so perfectionism is probably my first one. So I need everything to sort of look a certain way, and I have very high expectations of how things should be or need to be. Overanalyzing, I feel like I need all the pieces to the puzzle before I start, and I overanalyze situations and people and even like body language and just anything that's around me. I feel like I overanalyze it all. And then self-doubt, I feel like I doubt myself with everything that I do, and even making like simple decisions, I really struggle with that because I feel like growing up I was always like criticized or like ridiculed for anything that I did, so any decision that I made wasn't the right one. So now I'm trying to like gain confidence in like trusting myself, and
Love it, sister. Awesome awareness.
Yeah.
Love it.
Should I share why I'm unmuted?
Totally.
Well, I wasn't sure with this whether self-doubt was my first one or procrastination was. Like, I didn't know if I procrastinated, which led to then, like you said, oh, I can't do it. See, I told you so. Or, well, whether the self-doubt then leads me to procrastinate. But I just listened to my intuition and I went with self-doubt for number one.
Mm-hmm.
Which then I feel leads into the procrastination side of it. And I often overanalyze everything. But I think that's to do with other psychologists in the area. Again, I think that comes to self-doubt and me knowing my knowledge and, the way that I can connect with people and help them in different ways. It's not about that comparison, but I then look at what their content is or what they're saying. And I'm saying the same thing, just in a different way. But then I just start over-analysing, and then that leads to procrastination too.
Yeah, awesome awareness, sister. Adele, do you want to share, babe? I saw your hand go up.
So I definitely can relate to you, Krista, with like making sure everything is perfect. So I will, before I even start work, I want to make sure my house is perfectly clean, the kids are like perfectly behaved, everything's just perfect. And then even when I'm working in business and creating like content, I want it to look just so perfect. And so I'll spend a lot of time there, but then I actually procrastinate and I actually don't do the thing, then which leads to self-doubt.
Yeah.
And then I start doubting myself and my ability to create that business that I want. But I think I make sure everything is just so perfect before I even do the thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's a big one, hey? Like, this level of awareness is like super powerful, because then we're like, oh, okay, I see what I'm doing here. All right, not for perfection. How can I just make progress? How can I just take the first step?
Yeah. So I definitely have, I can really see where I'm, very challenged is making sure everything's perfect before doing the thing, but it's not about that.
Yeah.
But I find that I struggle really to work in an environment if like things are very like I just need it always to be perfect because I feel like I work better like that. That then I'm not actually even working.
Totally.
So yeah.
Just like a really good, like when we alleviate that, I used to be so much the same, but what I know is that if I can alleviate it from that aspect of my life, I can alleviate it from others. You know, I was absolutely OCD in the house, and I still am very clean. But at the same time, I just know that it's my mind, you know, utilizing something or finding something that is absolutely justifiable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just want to have that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that I definitely believe, and that's kind of why I got my office. I was like, I need a nice clean space because, you know, I'm living in a house with more people now and I just really need this space, and when it's done perfectly, then I'll do the things. But turns out, you know, there's a shortage in stock in just about everything with office supplies.
Yep.
So my office has taken 4 weeks to get furniture in it. So I'm actually working with like a 90-year-old desk and a black chair that was left in the office, and I've created way more work out of an empty, echoey office with nothing in it. I'm still waiting on my furniture, but I was like, oh, once it's set up, then I'll be right. And I was like, hold on a second. And I feel like I was almost cornered into like changing the belief. I was like, it's in here. Again, like there's nothing external from me that's going to make me different. If I can just realize that my environment doesn't affect me and I don't allow it to, sure, sometimes it can, but again, just being a total cause and being like, you know what, I'm just going to work with this desk and this chair, and the rest when it comes will just be a luxury. But it's, just going back inward, I think that's something I found.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I definitely need to work on that. 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's a prime example of absolutely being a cause of everything. Right? Like being a true cause of everything in our life, because that pertains to our external reality as well. Like, oh no, well, you know, the house isn't clean, so I can't do the thing, or the kids are not behaved, so I can't do the thing. We're constantly being affected. But when we have the ability to build that resilience and go, you know what, no matter what, I'm going to defy the odds. No matter what, I'm going to do the work. No matter what, I'm going to do the live. And nothing out there is going to affect me from doing so.
Yeah.
The number of times that I have done a Facebook Live and Ayana comes in, she's like, Mum. I'm like, okay, all right. Hey guys, you want to meet my daughter? Like, of a humanness as well. You know, people have commented on my live and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see that side of you. Like, and Luke, you even said it as well. I think after when I posted in the sales mastery group, and Ayana was in one of the lives, and he was like, oh my gosh, like, she's actually the real deal. Like she has shit too. She has, you know, I mean, not making reference to my daughter as shit. I meant shit in life. You know? she's my everything. But you know, she's got all of the things in motion all of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it creates that relatability for others to see that. So, you know, just do the thing, and whatever happens during that process, oh well, that's the way that it was meant to be. And maybe people will connect more based on that.
Yeah, just like more relatable. Yeah.
Totally. Because I think like perfectionism seems to be a bit of a thread here. And it's probably, you know, I've attracted you based on what I am. But I think that the moment that we can assess that it's never going to be perfect, you know, a Facebook Live with our kids screaming in the background or a messy house is going to be better than no Facebook Live at all. Or, you know, this morning, this is a perfect example of it. And my perfectionism could have come up, you know, fast and strong. This morning, I went to drop my daughter to school. She slammed her finger in the car door and she's had to have the day off school, right? Like our ability to pivot, no matter what, our ability to pivot in mayhem, our ability to pivot in overwhelm, our ability to pivot when shit gets real, is our ability to succeed in business and every aspect of life. Oh, okay, life threw that at me. Perfect. All right, how do I move forward? I wasn't going to send her to school with a big fat thumb and bleeding and bruising. Okay, that's all right. I can do this, right? Because if we can do it in the small aspects of life, when something like COVID hits, I've never created this much growth in my business than when we're having a global crisis. Because I know that I'm made to pivot because I've done it so many times. And this is no different to pivoting in and out, and you'll see how it all correlates and it all relates to what we're doing in the small aspects of life is what we're doing in the big. And if we're allowing these behaviors to dictate the small aspects of our life, how are we going to be when we have $1 million business and we have to pivot fast and hard all of the time? Because the reality is, it's never going to be effortless. There are times where it is going to be extremely in flow and easy, and we can move and we've got momentum. But then there's going to be times where COVID happens and we've got to do something about it. And the reason that so many businesses have gone down is because they've been able to make success when the times are easy. I don't want to know that. I want to see an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, that can actually succeed when the times aren't. And that's why there's been so many businesses that have actually just shut down, because I believe that it takes a huge level of commitment and motivation. And that's why we've got to overcome all of this in the small aspects of life so that you can become resilient in the big. Because perfectionism, they're not going to serve you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about not only creating boundaries in all aspects of your life, but creating boundaries within yourself as well. Like knowing where your boundaries are for you and the way that you show up. And I know for me, if I've said I'm going to do something, I have big boundaries around actually not doing it. Just for my own level of accountability. If I've said to myself, even in my mind, even if I haven't said it on social media or announced it, if I've said to myself, I'm going to go live at this time, it would be easy for me to go, oh, you know what, can't be fucked, I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah.
But there's like boundaries that I create within myself of like, no, Krista, you told yourself you're going to do that thing. Don't let you down. Because where else does that show up in your life? And I think it's super relevant for all of you because, you know, the way that we perform and the way that we assess all of these aspects is going to dictate what we actually achieve. Because I can say to you, all right, I'm going to create this lead magnet with you. I'm going to teach you how to sell. I'm going to teach you how to create great content. I'm going to teach you how to build a brand and have all of the strategy and the structure. But in the moments where you actually need to take action after this 3-day immersion and you have all of this stuff popping up and you haven't actually built the resilience or the ability to step over it, to do that thing, you're not going to get results. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, perfect. Because what we do in our internal realm, and as I said, it's the reason that I do so much personal development myself and I invest, you know, I make investments like $25,000 to spend time with Gary Vee, is because not only do I want to invest in the best in the world, but I know that no one else is going to invest in me if I don't invest in myself and build myself to be resilient and certain and in the proximity of other powerful leaders in the world. And if your life was supposed to, if you were supposed to have that big audacious vision right now, you would already have it. But it's that you need to become something bigger and better and faster and stronger so that you can actually be the capacity to hold that. You know, it's no different to, I use the analogy of a light bulb. So if we have a light bulb and it's like, you know, one of those little light bulbs that we put in our salt lamp, and we were to pump a high amperage, you know, into that light bulb, you know, like a huge amount of energy into that light bulb, it would explode. Because it's not the capacity or the container to hold it. But if we were a big light bulb, if we were able to sustain any amount of amperage that was pumped into us, that would be pumped in and we would sustain it. And it's no different to you. You're the light bulb. If your life and your vision was aligned with you right now, if you were the capacity and the container to hold it, it would already be here. But what a lot of people don't understand is that you actually, there's this becoming process. This becoming process of actually being that capacity to hold that amount of stuff, being your business, being team, being delivery. And you've got to become that. But in moments of becoming that, because in that stretching, there's a level of discomfort. There's a level of leaning into shadows and parts of ourselves that we've never truly acknowledged. There's a feeling of overwhelm when our business starts to build. where we get in this scattered mindset, and that's nothing but you just stretching your capacity. So that in order for you to attain that vision, you're able to hold it. And what a lot of people do is as soon as they experience that overwhelm or that stress or that fear or whatever it is that's evident, they give up. Because they expect it to all be easy. And I really want to frame to you guys that the work never stops. Kerwin and I spent a week and a half of peeling back layers and doing the internal work. Because no matter what stage you are at, it does not stop if you are committed to the growth journey. We spent a week and a half of crying and shedding and acknowledging and seeing dynamics and blueprints and how our life has played out thus far. And it's served us up until this point. But in order for us to like step into that new phase, it's not going to serve us beyond that. And because we're so willing to do the work and we're so willing to grow, and so many people speak about it, not many people actually do it, we're willing to face off with any shit that comes our way. And I think there's so many people out there that talk about the work, but as the moment that they're faced with that level of pain or that level of stretching, they don't truly delve in. They don't truly see, the diminishing behaviors, or they don't see how there's a level of pain, even in the way of when we're growing and things fall away from our life. They want to immediately reattach to that thing because it's familiar. But that thing isn't any longer a vibrational match. So growth is like such a broad spectrum approach. Yes, we can do all of this, but you need to understand as you grow and evolve, things that no longer serve you and aren't a vibrational match to you are going to fall away. But what do? And I've recently had this. I had someone that was very close fall away. But I knew after me diving deep into a week and a half of healing and growth with my partner, that was going to be the case. And in that moment, my automatic response was like, oh, that's really familiar though. Like that person knows what to do. They've been in my life for this amount of time. All I want to do is grab a hold of it. But in order for me to reach the next level, I have to allow that to fall away with love. And it's no different to any of your behaviors. And you get to choose in the moments. It's not a matter of just understanding that there's this like magic pill and you take that magic pill and then you're all done. It's like that willingness and that surrender, and this is why being a know-it-all is such a detrimental behavior to have. And this is probably the one, and I know that none of you probably have that attitude because I just don't have that within me. So I know that I wouldn't have integrate the learning 100%. Would love to know what your take is on avoidance. 100%, sister. But this is why the know-it-all is such it creates such a ripple effect in so many aspects of our life, because when we embark on this growth journey and we're faced with pain and we've got I know what to do in this. No. None of us know what to do half of our life. And it's the willingness to truly surrender in all of it that we actually learn the lessons. So this is why this is so detrimental. Luca, I would love to. And guys, if you have questions as we go through today, I'm so happy to flow in and out. Like what you guys are here for is to get what you want. So I'm happy for you to ask questions. Luca, I would love to know, give me context around avoidance. Give me like an example. What aspect of life?
So like in terms of business, for instance, like I was looking at my diminishing behaviors and they're a little bit different. I definitely don't feel like I have the perfectionism thing at all. I probably have the I've got this. Yep. And I just make things happen, and then I might release something and I'm like, oh, what a schmozzle, I'll fix that up later. But I just do the action and then I kind of work the rest out later. Yep. Which, works sometimes and other times it doesn't. But avoidance in, like having your day structured out, and it might be like finalizing a program or sending over a contract or just basic little things that need to be done. But avoidance comes into play, and it's not necessarily like a fear of anything, but just a strong, like, I don't really like, I don't know, just I'd rather do anything but that just little tiny job.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think it's also, you're at the stage where you can get someone on board to look after those things, because I can totally relate. And guys, I think I might even just delve into this because I think it'll be really relevant. It's understanding how you are in your genius as well. So, you know, for a lot of people, they're sort of, and I would highly suggest that you actually go out there and do your wealth dynamics. Write that down, wealth dynamics. It's a report that you can do online, and it's really, really super interesting, just to have a better understanding of how you're most optimal in business. I think there is a cost associated with it. I think it's less than $100, but I would highly suggest, because it just gives you so much clarity and understanding. So for a long period of time, I actually judged myself because and this is something that we're just going to talk about so that you can have a level of awareness and see where, you know, your next team member, you know, comes in and assists you. Because I think that's really beneficial to a lot of people. But what I think, do you guys have all of this written down? There's going to be a PDF in the group. Yeah. So what I did for a long period of time was, I thought, because my mum, I was brought up, my mum is like, you know, type A perfectionist. She is super structured, like needs to do everything in advance. And when I was at school, you know, I hated school, but, you know, I learn in very different ways. I'm really not a visual learner. I'm very kinesthetic and auditory. So, you know, when I was at school, mum would be, you know, on my back, and she'd be like, oh, you know, you're 1 month out from that exam, or you've got to do that assignment and you've got to get it in place. And I was like, I just want to avoid it. Like, I do not work well in that way. Like, I don't work well with heaps of preparation. And even in the way of like my events, you know, like I work best when I have the ability to flow. You know, if someone sits there, like I've never used a teleprompter, and I've never used a script for anything that I've ever done. And if I was to sit there and read off a teleprompter, I would be so robotic. Like I would not have the ability to like move in and out of different discussions and give you what you actually need with the level of passion that it needs to be spoken with. And my mum's the opposite. So she was like, you have to have the script, and you have to have an exact outline, and you have to have the structure, and you have to have your day, you know, looking like this. And what I realized was, while I was judging myself for it, I was only just beating myself up, and I couldn't actually change it because it just wasn't how I operated optimally. And I think a lot of us can probably relate that, you know, maybe this isn't, you know, and the reason I've got an assistant is because she is absolutely phenomenal at structuring and logistics and times and all of those things. But I felt like when I was putting all of my focus and energy into that, it was taking me out of my genius zone. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to try something. All right. I know that my human dynamics is I'm a bit of an activator. And I know that my wealth dynamics is that I'm a creator. So it comes up with all of these different titles. Now, part of the creator is, and you can delve deeper into this on the report, but part of the creator is being the visionary, starting the project, mapping the vision, and then after a while, they get bored. They avoid details. And I'm the same wealth dynamic as not only my partner and Gary Vee, but also Richard Branson as well. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't need to judge myself anymore. They've created more than I've created. I can just like, you know, give myself a break. So what I realized was when I was most in my genius was when I was actually standing in that visionary. When I was immersed in all of the details, I was so overwhelmed and so bored. And then I realized that I was always great at starting the project because I was that visionary. When I was like, oh my gosh, I've got this amazing idea. I'm going to launch this program or this event. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm in so much momentum. So I've always been awesome at starting the project. And I'm so enthusiastic when I'm at those initial stages. But then I realized as soon as I had to get bogged down in the details of it, as soon as I had to figure out the structure of it, I'd be like, all right, I'm out. I've lost my passion. I don't want to do it. And then I realized that I loved mapping out visions. And it's part of the reason why I'm so good at what I do in business, is because I love sitting down with my clients and going, right, what does it look like? Let's do the thing. And what I realized was I also would get bored very quickly. So it was really important for me to constantly change things up. And that's the reason that Velocity Business Immersion, yes, we do it 3 and 4 times a year, but it's different every time. There's similarities, but I get bored with regurgitating the same amount of information, knowing that everything changes, especially in the digital world. So I'm always wanting to innovate, because that's what it is. Like, being a creator is like the innovator, the person that's coming up with the solutions, the person that's creating the vision. And I also realized that I would avoid details. When my assistant came on board, she looked at my calendar and she was like, wow, all right, this is cool. Not, how do you even survive on this calendar? And I was like, I don't know, but it scrambles my head and it takes me out of my genius. So I avoid it. Right? So I think, Luca, you can probably relate in this, because I'm exactly the same. It's like, what? I don't want to send a contract, really? No, I don't want to do that stuff. All I want to do is I want to speak, and I want to inspire and create the business and create the vision and be at that setup process. And you might actually be, once you've done your wealth dynamics, you might actually be at the opposite end of the spectrum and kind of go, okay, my genius is I'm really good with structure. I'm really good with, the implementation pieces. I just need someone that's going to actually map it out with me, because I'm not seeing the big picture. Whatever you are, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not good or bad. It's just how you operate most effectively. And when you can see how you operate most effectively, you're going to know how you can and what you can outsource. Right? So for me, what I outsource the most is, like, I actually love creating content. While I don't have time to create film, I love creating my content, because that's my creative that's coming through. I love being there at the initial stages of, like, whether it's setting up a program or whether it's setting up an event. I love being immersed in that. I love having planning days with my team. I love having mind mapping sessions with my clients. What I don't like is looking after my calendar, booking appointments, bookkeeping, which my bookkeeper will tell you, because I avoid her like the plague, and all of the logistical side of it. So they're the things that I outsource. Looking at my email inbox fries my brain. So my assistant does that and tells me what I need to know. Right? Can you see how, and put your hand up if you can relate? Totally. And if you have any questions, please ask. So that's the reason that you're avoiding it, sister. And I think that you can just give yourself a bit of a break and go, all right, that's why I'm avoiding it. Okay, for the time being, how can I stop? How can I actually stop procrastinating and just do the thing? Even if you can get a VA for a couple of hours a week, just to do that admin side of things, so that you can absolutely stay in your genius. You can get VAs for $5 an hour. And I've actually found a couple of, like, in the Philippines, there's been a couple that I've come across who are really cheap, but they're just going to do all of those behind the scenes admin pieces.
Yeah, I definitely think it's really important, because I'm working out now, especially with growing so much, that I can avoid it, but it doesn't make the job go away. And it actually makes then me trying to be my genius harder, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking about, like, that contract needs to go out, that person wanted an outline of this, and it's all those little jobs that I just avoid, but they're so necessary in order to keep up with the growth. So yeah, I'll definitely.
I think that your next stage is actually just getting someone on board, so that you can, because I know the way that I work most effectively, and this is what I've even loved about, since I've been with Kerwin. He's got a team of 80 people. So he's got like 7 videographers and filmmakers, and then he's got 2 assistants, and even just watching the dynamics that play out. And because him and I operate in a very similar way, we have the vision. All right, okay, let me talk to you about this vision. All right, go and create it. So you've got someone there that you can say, all right, I've got to do this overview for this client. I want this, go and create it.
Yeah.
Or, hey, just made this sale, can you send a contract? But I just think that what a lot of us do is we actually procrastinate putting someone on our team. Like, we go, oh yeah, but what if, the income falls away a little bit and then I can't afford it? I guarantee you, as soon as you can afford to add a team member, you must do it. Like, must. It's a must. because that's the vehicle that's going to enable you to get to your next stage. And I was at the same stage when I first put on Sim. I've always had contractors in the way of sales and marketing, but to have someone in such close proximity when Sim came on board, I was like, oh my gosh, all right, everything came up. My ego mind ran overtime. It was like, oh my gosh, well, what if this happens? What if that happens about this? Oh my gosh, like, how am I going to delegate? I'm so used to doing all of this stuff on my own. And the moment that I put it on, literally a couple of weeks later, I was like skyrocketing. Because I could absolutely be in my genius and how I worked the best. So then my delivery changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, total. And I just saw Paul said and implement automated systems and to free up more time. And I know that that's the right thing to do, but in my mind, I just am like, oh, that's going to require me to have to sit down and to actually do the process of like putting everything in to make an automated program. So yeah.
Paul's doing a lot of my stuff.
Yeah.
We're doing a rejig on my website and all sorts of stuff. So I just, get in contact with Paul and he can set you up with more automation.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that.
Okay. Just going to read some of these. They're not your genius, I'm exact same. I don't want to send that contract, that's me. And sister, do you use Adobe Sign? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Because that's easy. You literally, all you have to do is just put in an email address. Yeah, I get it though. I operate very similarly. How do you start initially without having a team that assists with this? Sister, you honestly, this is where I started. And when I walked away from my marriage, I had no money. So I just did it all myself. And this is the stretching of the capacity. But what I advise everyone is that, when you are learning, and the best way to learn is by doing it. So when you are learning all of this, then you have the ability to actually teach the people that come on your team how to do it. Sim didn't know how to create content before she joined the team. I taught her everything. But I wouldn't have known how to teach her until I had created it all myself. So yes, it's a matter of, not getting overwhelmed with it, especially at the initial stages of business. What's really important is that you're building brand and you're creating a huge amount of content, and we're going to delve into that tomorrow. But then you can, once you start building capital within your business, then you can add a team member on board. But at the initial stages, you've got to do it yourself. And trust me, if I can do it while being a full-time single mum, you can do it too. I just believe that when we treat our business like a side gig, it's always going to be a side gig. When we treat it like a full-time operation, then it's going to be a full-time operation. Lots of Wealth Dynamics sites online. Yes. Okay. I'll have a look when we go on break and I'll post something in the group. That's good. You have an assistant, Sarah Ann. I don't know. I actually read the emails. I certainly don't. They bore me too. It's a lot of important information in a lot of my emails, so it proves to be a little bit of a problem when I'm avoiding it. Also implement automated systems. Yes, thank you, Paul. Time is wealth. When can you afford to hire someone? Sister, if you've got a really good outline of how much you're earning, and Tara, maybe unmute yourself and tell me sort of what your relationship is with money, and if there's a level of avoidance, or do you know exactly where you're at with your income?
So I am just diving in. I've been avoiding, been procrastinating, doing my my finance check, and so I'm just working through the last 3 months. And honestly, it's nice to see that I've actually made a bit of money. I don't know why I avoid these things. But the whole thing about abundance and just money in general, I've got work to do for sure. And I'm nowhere near ready to hire anyone for sure. Yep. I'm definitely at this stage where I've made way more investments going out than anywhere near coming in.
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal at the initial stages of business, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just need to, I actually, these diminishing behaviors surprised me, which mine were, so I just need to focus on turning those into benefits and going from there. Just was wondering your thoughts on, you know, if there's a money mark when you're ready to hire someone, or is it just like you literally are so stretched, or, yeah.
I think as soon as you can afford it, because that's the next stage within your business, so that you can have someone taking care of all of those things. Could you imagine if I was still doing, and I mean, I believe that, you know, anything's humanly possible, and I could do a lot of things and not outsource, but could you imagine the state of mind that I would be in if I was creating all of my content, I was setting up all of the events, I was worried about my calendar, my emails, you know, the merchandise of the company, delivering to my clients, doing Facebook Live videos, editing videos, you know, all of the pieces. Could you imagine the state of mind that I could be in? The reason that I've been able to scale to where I am, and the reason that I continue scaling, is because as soon as I get to that point of like, okay, all right, okay, I can just afford it. All right, let's hire. Then I can go, right, that's outsourced now. I'm going to focus on all of this. So this is going to enable me to be more optimal. And I know for me, yes, I'm still doing logistics and bits and pieces of a lot of stuff, but really what I focus on within the business is live videos. So I'm literally told, all right, you need to do a live video, and this is the time that you have to do it. All right, this is in my calendar for this group call. This person's booked in here. And all I have to do and worry about is show up in my biggest version. And that's how we become optimal in our industry. And there's probably a lot of you here that are like, oh, you know, that seems so far away. But let me tell you, if you put in the work, it's not that far away. It can literally be around the corner. You just got to be willing to put in the initial work and the initial stages. We're going to do a little bit of a money exercise before we jump on break. So I'll run through that. I think that'll be really beneficial for you, Tara. I'm not sure what kind of person I need. Someone that is good with technology, apps, websites, creating events, linking tools. I would talk to Paul, talk to Paul about it. And Paul's going to be doing a guest speaking position what day? Sunday. So he's going to be running over a heap of stuff in the way of IT and automations, because I think that it's really beneficial for a lot of people. And while I'm pretty good with it, it's just not my genius, so I don't talk about it. But he's going to offer a huge amount of value. Yeah, perfect. And then maybe the next person, like once you have all of these pieces set up, and if you're looking for someone in more of a full-time position, maybe it's someone that's actually just creating, you know, contents and articles and email campaigns, like what Sim was doing. She was posting, you know, 3 times a day on each social media platform. She was videoing, she was video editing, she was creating PDFs, doing articles on LinkedIn, doing email campaigns, all of the admin stuff that happens in the background, but then putting the creative spin on it so it's in alignment with my brand and there's fluidity between each touch point. Make sense? Yeah. Who else has some questions? If you want to, you can unmute yourself as well. No questions? Okay, perfect. So we're going on break at 12 o'clock, guys, and this is something that you can do now, and you can actually carry through on the break. So what I'm going to do is pair you up, and you get to have the first half of the break as like actually eating. The second half of the break, so the second half an hour, you have to get in your pair, and obviously Luca and Adele and Laura and Amy, you're already in a pair, and you have to take part in this exercise. I'm going to give you a bit of a frame of why we're doing this, because I think that, and what I've seen is, and this is what I love, like, just so you guys know, this is what I love about flowing. You know, instead of having like, yes, there is absolutely an event schedule of everything that we are covering, and there is definite structure. But what I love about flow is going, oh, okay, I think this is really needed. I'm going to insert here, right? Like, not feeling that we have to be so rigid and so scripted that it has to be a certain way, but actually giving people what they want. So it's a money exercise that is really super duper powerful. And I think that it's going to benefit a lot of you. What's really important is money is just to know is that money is just a form of energy. And it's just an exchange that takes place based on the value that you are giving. I'd write that down. It's an exchange that takes place based on the value that you are giving. As I said earlier, it's simply an amplifier. It's not that anyone's more worthy of it. It's your relationship with it that dictates whether you're going to attract more of it into your life. And I never knew, you know, coming from like a very wealthy family, I never knew that so many people had such a poor relationship with money and placed so much emphasis on it. Because what happens is when we've created our product, and, you know, we're going to be doing all of these things over the next couple of days, we've created this product, and then we've got this vehicle that's actually going to enable the money to flow through effortlessly. What blocks it is our relationship to it, the way that we view it, the way that we talk about it. And these are all the roadblocks that actually stop that vehicle from moving forward. So I would love for you guys to type in the box below, what's your relationship with money? Even on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being that you've got an absolutely shithouse relationship with money, 10 being that you are so abundant and you truly believe that you are worthy and deserving of it. Yeah. And when you talk about money, like when you're offered an investment, is there apprehension? Is there like, oh, I don't know whether I can afford it? Like, what's your initial language that you use? Even if you really want something.
For me, it was the scarcity mindset, basically. Yeah. But I'm changing that. That's why I said yes to this. And it took, even Vanessa knows how much of a challenge it was to get, like I went through finance and I paid a little bit of it, but that progress, that to get to the yes, to get the money was challenging. Yeah. And I still pushed through it because I was like, no, this is what I need to do to get to the next level.
Totally.
Like I could have easily gone, okay, this process is so hard. Like I had no printer, so I had to go, it was COVID, so I had to go back and forth to families' houses, borrow someone else's car because I've just recently moved over from New Zealand and I didn't have my own car, and I could have easily gone, nah, this is not worth my time. But I knew, no, this is a challenge. I need to go through this to get to this. And yeah, so that's basically.
I love that, sister. I love that level of commitment. And that's what it takes, right? Like I even know for me, when I went to Gary Vee, I got invited to it. I spoke about this on the live the other night. I got invited to go. It was an invitation only event in Sydney last year. And then I did it in New York at the beginning of this year again. And I got invited literally 24 hours before it began. And it was a $25,000 investment, and there was every hurdle in the road. So I had my daughter for that weekend. I had to book flights. You know, the $25,000 investment alone was a little bit scary. I had to organize accommodation, and majority of people in that moment would have been like, nah, too hard basket, too last minute, not going to do it. But I knew it was going to, like in the pit of my gut, I knew that it was going to be the thing that created the most amount of change. So the money injection was, you know, not even there, because I just know what it is to invest. The more you invest, the more that you get in return, right? But then what happened was we were booking. So it started at 9 o'clock the next morning. We were booking flights. And as we were booking flights, everything was cancelling. And unbeknownst to us, there was like massive winds in Sydney. So we couldn't get in. We couldn't actually fly into Sydney from the Gold Coast or Brisbane. So because there is no such thing as an excuse, I got in the car and I drove all the way to Sydney overnight, and I attended the next day on 3 hours sleep, I think it was, right? And that's the level of the commitment that's required, because if we've got little excuses that are popping up in the small aspects of our life, like, oh no, well, it's not perfect. Oh no, well, I don't have enough knowledge. I'm just going to doubt myself. My kids aren't behaving. My house isn't clean. We're certainly not going to be resourceful enough to actually make the investment and then truly prioritize and commit when shit gets real, right? And that's what's required. That level of certainty, that level of commitment, and that level of resilience. And money's no different. Your attitude towards money in every moment is going to dictate how much you attract. When your abundance mindset, like when I think of money, it excites me. Like I feel excitement, like butterflies in the bottom of my belly, because I just know that it flows to me effortlessly. And I know that it enables me to create more impact. It enables me to provide a great lifestyle, you know, for my family. It enables me to go on amazing holidays, eat great nutritious food, help more people, have a bigger platform. Like, I know what it does. But it took me a long time. After leaving the marriage with $0 to my name, I had to rewire the way that I thought about money, because I always had this great money mindset, and I was always absolutely abundance focused. And that's why I attracted it effortlessly. Even when I started my hair salon when I was 18, my mom said to me, how are you going to get clients? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have to try. I know that. They'll just come to me because I'm really good at what I do. Mum was like, well, you should probably have a plan in place. And I was like, no. It'll be fine. I never did 1 ounce of marketing. I never did 1 ounce of anything to attract clients in. And I built that business to high 6 figures. Just because I believed and because I had a really good relationship with money. But then after that, feeling the power of scarcity, which a lot of us have throughout our life, it kind of changes things, because then we worry. Then we're constantly caught in this fear mentality of having enough. And this is what's impacting you. If you do have that money mindset of like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much fear, I'm in so much overwhelm, I don't have enough, I'm scarce. And I know that it's hard to pull yourself out of that when you're immersed in it. But this is what's actually enabling you to attract what you're currently attracting, the not enoughness. Because it's only attracting the emotion that you're experiencing. Everything that you are feeling is putting it out there. And you're attracting it back. So once again, you've got to be totally at cause. You can do all of the hard work. You can implement all of the structure and strategy. But if you still have a poor relationship with money, it's not going to change. So what we're going to do over the break, or between now and, what's the time? Let me have a look at the time. We've got 15 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually write a letter and have a conversation with money. Now, the analogy that I want to give you is, if you had problems within your relationship, if you just decided that, you know, with your partner, you wanted to avoid him or her, you wanted to avoid them, you didn't want to talk about the hard thing, you didn't want to argue, you didn't really want to express, you didn't want to heal all of the things that had happened, what would that do to your relationship? Would they stay or leave? It's no different to money. That's why money's leaving your life. It's because you're avoiding it. You don't have a relationship with it. It's no different to anything else. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to give you the next 10 minutes to put down some bullet points, or even start writing your letter to money. And I want you to express, and I want you to feel. There's no right or wrong way. But what's really important is that you do whatever it takes to heal your relationship with it. That you feel into the emotions that are associated, that you apologize for not valuing it, as if you would be talking to your partner. I apologize for not valuing you. I apologize for not seeing your worth. I apologize that at some stages of my life, I've probably abused you and taken you for granted. And I want you to speak into the energy of money as if you were talking to someone that you love. I'm going to give you 10 minutes and feel the emotion. Okay, who wants to share? You don't have to share your letter. You don't have to share in depth. Just share what came up. Just unmute yourself.
So I feel like I'm still living in like a uni mentality. Like when I was in uni, I obviously wasn't working very much and I was living out of home. And I feel like any bit of money that I got, I held on to, and I was always scared to spend money. But then I would spend money and then I would like have this regret or feel this like fear and scarcity over not having enough. And like no matter what, I got anything I wanted. For someone who had no money, I ate out a lot. I made it work. But then I always, like now I'm sort of still living in that, like I'm earning like a solid income, but I'm sort of like, I hold on. Yeah, I'm still in that mentality. And I think for me, like in business, like I work full time as a support worker right now. And like you said about having the side business, treating it like a side business, like at the moment I am, and I don't want to. I want that to be my full-time business. Yeah. So I think there's that scarcity in like not having that income again, or not having that flow of money.
Totally.
So,
and this is a beautiful awareness that that's actually not your current reality.
Yeah.
But as long as we're identifying with that, it's always going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right. And these are the things that we get to become aware of. And that's why delving in today into all of this internal work is so important, because you can implement all of the things that we're going to do on day 2 and 3, but without this level of awareness on what's holding us back, it's going to mean nothing, right?
And I think not knowing where I am with money, because I'm sort of a sole trader, so I don't really know where I am in the way of tax and everything like that. So even though I have money in my account, I don't know how much I've actually got when I pay my tax and everything. So yeah, I think that's my biggest thing at the moment is like, if I'm spending money, it's like, is this actually my money, or do I owe this to the tax department because I haven't like paid my tax every few months or whatever?
Totally. So that's another thing too. And we've got we've got Abby, who's one of my beautiful clients. She's actually known as the Awakened Accountant, and she's coming on board tomorrow. Sunday, to do a bit of a segment just around finances and how you can actually not pay a lot of the things that we think we need to pay. And she's got a totally different approach, but I would highly suggest that you get her on, even in the way of bookkeeping, or enabling you. And this is the best thing about having her as a bookkeeper, is it's something that I don't have to worry about. It's like, all right, well, it's all sorted. If I just know everything that goes into my company account, gets to sit there, and she's going to tell me how much BAS and GST and all of the things that I have to pay, because I know it's something that I avoid, but I know my avoidance isn't going to lead to more coming in. It's actually going to lead to more going out. So I would suggest, even at this stage, sister, while it is a side gig, you don't have to treat it like that, but you can even get, it's a really small installment for you guys to have a great bookkeeper on board. It's sometimes only a couple of $100 a month. And that way, your finances are sorted. And when you have this relationship of transparency with your finances, then you're going to be able to bring more in effortlessly. But sometimes when we have this little bit of fear of like, oh, money's coming in, oh my gosh, all right, I have to pay tax, I have to do this, it's creating more friction. Right? Like, it's actually creating friction in that relationship. Oh, I'm so grateful the money came in, but oh my gosh, I don't want to let go of it, because what if I need to pay this.
And then I think that I'm getting paid like the full amount. So I'll spend money as if I'm earning that whole amount, like not if the tax is taken out. So like I'm thinking I'm earning like, a lot every week, but really like I'm not considering taking the tax out. And obviously I have savings, but most of that I'm thinking once I get the tax bill, like I probably won't have anything.
Yeah, sometimes it's not as scary as what you think, sister. Like, I've been there as well, because I was in avoidance for a long period of time when it came to all of that stuff, because I was like, I just don't even want to know. And then we put it out, and I think that it's just
Yeah, like recently, I think for me, that came up from the letter is that avoidance completely, is that as soon as money comes in, it's shifted everywhere. I don't even see it in my account the minute it comes in. I'm shifting it left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
And I had this goal that I wanted to save because my daughter's 16 in a couple of weeks. I wanted to save a particular amount of money so she could go off and enjoy herself. But I've even made that account where I can't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't I want to see the money? Like, it's like I'm scared of seeing what's in there in case I go, oh, that looks nice and shiny. Maybe I'll go buy it.
See, I like seeing it on like the one account.
Yeah, no, I don't like seeing it.
That's my
at
issue.
all.
I don't have a system going for myself. It's just all there. And if I need to pay a bill, I pay a bill. If I want to buy myself something, I will.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally. I get it. And this is the beautiful level of the beautiful level of awareness that we have to have around the avoidance in order for it to change.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Vanessa, did you want to share? I saw your unmute button go off.
Yeah, I'll read my letter if that's okay. I honestly don't think I have a huge issue with money, but as I said, I think I'm just in denial. But this is what came up when I wrote my letter. So, money, I'm so sorry for never truly appreciating you. You've always been there for me, even though I've taken you for granted or wished you were something bigger and better. You've never let me down, but my attitude and greed has stopped your flow into my life. I'm sorry for holding onto you at times where I should release and share you with all those who are deserving, just as I am, to experience your goodness and all you allow us to do. I'm sorry for not realizing the potential you have in my life. I know you are here just to magnify the good within me, and I know that wanting more of you doesn't make me a bad person. It just enhances my love and desire to help others. I'm so grateful for all the money I'm yet to receive and for the people it will allow me to help. Together, we can not only fulfill my purpose in this world, but we can love more wholly. For you alone do not bring happiness. It's together that we can change the world.
I love it. Wow, I had goosebumps. Okay, so can you guys put up, because what we're going to do is we're going to partner up over this time and you're going to read each other the letters, but I want you to be speaking to one another as if you're actually speaking to money, right? And I want you to feel the emotions and I want you to release it and I want you to build a new relationship. So who here, Veronica, I just noticed you jump back on. Did you do the letter to money? Or did you miss that? You missed it? Yeah? Okay, all right. So I'm going to pair you up. So take notice of your partner. Obviously, Amy and Laura, Luca and Adele. Okay, so Natasha, you're going to go with Emma O'Reilly. Natasha Chapman, Emma O'Reilly. Sarah Ann Stevens, going with Emma Hill Lewis. Vanessa with Natalie. Vanessa Blood with Natalie. Is your last name Harris, Natalie? Yeah, it doesn't have it on your screen. Sabrina with Seda. Tara Lee with Lauren. The other Tara with Luke Williams. Jess Shembry and Paul Usher. Okay, so what I want you to do is give each other feedback. I'm not here to create guru models. I'm here to create other leaders. I don't want you to become dependent on me for the rest of your life for your motivation and inspiration. I want to duplicate people to be their own unique version of me so that they can stand in leadership. And I ask you guys for all of the exercises, and there's some really exciting ones tomorrow, like super duper exciting, that you show up in leadership, that you show up in commitment, that you can give each other feedback. If you feel like someone is doing a half-assed job, call them out. It's not my job to do that all of the time. You get to do that for one another. Because these relationships that we are building throughout the entirety of this period is something that can sustain. You can stay within this proximity. Because your proximity and the people that you have in your life is going to either disempower you or empower you. So I ask all of you throughout this break to take the first half an hour. So we're at 12:08. We're going to come back at 1:10. You've got an hour. The first half an hour is going to be for you to eat, for you to, you know, maybe go over anything else that you want to go on over. You can rejig your money letter. And then the second half an hour is for you to connect with one another. I'm going to allow you guys to get resourceful. Figure out how you're going to connect. I'm not here to give you every single answer, right? So go out there and get resourceful. Figure out how you can connect with each other, either on Zoom, Facebook, connect, I don't know, make it happen. Get on a call for the last half an hour, whether it's a face-to-face call or whether it's an audio call, and delve into the exercise. And I'm going to see you guys back here at 1:10. Veronica, what I would love for you to do, babe, is I was just talking about the relationship with money, and we're writing a letter to money. So there's a replay going to go up in the group, and you can rewatch this later. But I just want everyone to jump off and take part in the exercise. So really establish your money story and have a conversation with money as if it was your partner. Apologize for, you know, maybe not valuing it, maybe having lack of gratitude for it, maybe avoiding it, so that you can heal it. All right, guys, back here at 1:10 p.m. See you then. Bye.